Hello and welcome to another video of the European Communication Monitor 2024-2025. My name is Caroline Siegel and I am the project manager of the European Communication Monitor, and today I'm here with Ansgar Zerfass from Leipzig University in Germany. Hi Ansgar.
Hello.
So in this highlight video, we're going to dive deeper into one of our key topics, which is managerial learning as a success factor for communication leaders. So first of all, Ansgar, please tell us what is specific about this year's European Communication Monitor study.
Yes, many of you probably know the European Communication Monitor as the longest running academic study exploring the practices of corporate communications in Europe, and indeed it's the largest study worldwide. We are conducting this survey since 2007, but this year we decided to go really for a new design. More focused design. We are really researching only corporate communications in businesses. We are focusing on the top 300 companies in Europe, and we are interviewing the chief communication officers of those companies. Now, that's interesting because obviously these are the people who shape the profession and the field. And for the first time, here's a chance to really delve deeper and to get some insights about key concepts from strategic management and how they impact communications in the future and already today.
Thank you. So next question would be, what did you explore for the topic of managerial learning and how did you do it?
Yes, managerial learning is just one of three core topics investigated in this year's studies. The overall theme is dealing with tensions. So tensions, and all of you will know that, are situations where there are different but equally important goals. So it's very hard to take the right decision. And in today's very competitive world, in this dynamic world, it's really the new normal for everybody in communication, especially for leaders, to find themselves in these situations and take the right decisions. On the other hand, this is a drive of excellence. Now, in this study, we looked specifically also on the micro level, so on the communication leaders themselves and how they experience tensions and how they solve these problems in one very specific field. This is managerial learning, and we'll talk a bit later about what this really means and why it is important for chief communication officers. The interesting point, coming back to the study design, is that we combined a qualitative approach, qualitative interviews with these chief communication officers. You see, we sampled 30 of them, 30 out of the top 300 in Europe. And we combined this with a quantitative pre-survey. So you'll see in the results sections both quantitative and qualitative results. As mentioned before, these are really the top leaders in the field. They have a long professional experience, and the companies in the sample are based in 10 different countries, a large number of employees in all of these corporations, as you see here. So this means what is done here is really shaping the practice of corporate communications today and the future. And this is why the results are interesting, not only if you're working in a large company, but also somewhere else in the profession, because these are really the path makers in our field.
Well, thank you. So for the topic of managerial learning, what are the key insights from the study?
First of all, what is managerial learning? It is something which is for a long time debated in strategic management. It's about innovation, it's about the future. And if you want to shape the future as a leader, as a manager, you have to acquire and develop competencies, knowledge, skills, and also personal mindset. And how can you do that? Obviously, you can study, you can make some experiences, you can observe your peers. So what is done and what does this study show us in practice? The interview chief communication officers tell us that they're not quite sure whether they invest enough time in learning. So you see here that about 1/3 believes they do, 1/4 disagrees with that, and the majority is neutral. So it's an important topic, but it's probably not really on the top agenda of everybody leading a comms department today. Now, why is it probably not so easy to innovate and to learn? Yeah, obviously in a 24/7 hour job like communications, it's really lack of time because you're always, um, asked and requested to react even if you're in a top position. Interestingly, the second point, and about half of the respondents told us is that the learning opportunities in the communications, the strategic communications, the public relations profession are simply too basic. They're more for the beginners, more technical, but really for leaders or also the next generation leaders, probably the learning opportunities are missing. And if we then go further and ask in a next step, how is this innovation, how is this learning done today? We know from research that there are simply different styles, which are all good, how you can learn, how you can build new competencies. The most common approach here about communication leaders is clearly learning on the job, simply experimenting probably with AI or other new developments in the field. But also peer learning is quite important, building informal networks with colleagues, talking to them, also having a look at best cases from competitors. Now, that's obviously focused on what is already done in the profession. So innovation normally means you have to look for somewhere else. And theory-based learning is a typical approach. So either executive education or coaching. Executive education is a big thing about communication leaders, but we have been told it's mainly focused on leadership or general management. As we've heard before, there's no specific education on this top level about really communication issues. And reflective learning practices, meaning that you read reports, that you probably even consult what academia, what researchers have investigated. This is, let's say a double-edged sword in the field. On the one hand, reports from management consultancies, like this quote here shows, I would always read something published by McKinsey or Boston Consulting Group, for example, are really acknowledged. So this is really the main source for communication leaders. Studies by communication agencies are read, but communication leaders are also a bit skeptical about that. You see the quotes here. We all know that there is some intention behind that, why certain topics are presented in a certain way. And academic studies, who tend to be more neutral, probably even a bit more forward-thinking, are there, but it seems to be difficult to access them. They're probably behind paywalls of journals and they're complex to understand. So that's the situation today. Now, based on that, the interesting question is obviously, are there tensions? And we all know that there are tensions if you want to change your mindset, if you want to innovate. The contradiction which has been most often mentioned is a tension between renewal and preservation. Meaning, on the one hand, you have to foster future capabilities. On the other hand, you are a successor as a leader because you use proven methods and mindsets. So there are some interesting quotes here. For example, the first one, learning is all about letting go out of control, being open-minded. But on the other hand, communication leaders in general have to control things. They have to stay on message. They have to make sure nothing goes wrong in their teams. So probably in this specific role, it's even more difficult to change and to learn. And on the other hand, also as a leader in a team, you have to think of your team members. So if you always come up with new ideas, if you jump in, always have something new, as somebody said here, then you probably are not a good leader. So you have to balance these two approaches about renewal and preservation. Other tensions identified are the tension between being a generalist as a communication leader and a specialist, really knowing about some specific communication approaches and issues. And some learning paths reported about can disturb this because you're probably going to be much more only a manager and you lose, let's say, the background of communications. And obviously, interestingly, if you have an internal status as a communication leader that you can advise top executives like the board on any critical topic, then maybe some people may ask you, why do you need time and let's say resources to acquire new knowledge? You already know everything. A very nice quote here from our study. One CCO told us, it will be hard to understand why you need training if you're already being paid €500,000 to know everything. So this means that The CCOs, the Chief Communication Officers in our sample, know that innovation and learning is important on the individual level. They also know about these difficult constellations and tensions, and they clearly tell us that the specific role expectations and self-perceptions of communication leaders, which are different from those of leaders in an IT or HR department, for example, really make it even harder to solve this challenge. Now, what are the solutions? What can we do in practice? So, quite pragmatically, you have to make sure that you have enough time for learning, and this has or should be related to your own positioning. Some nice quotes about that. So, don't try to learn or to innovate in all fields. Probably somebody in your team can do that, but choose one or two areas which are really important for you, for your own positioning in the company, and then try to innovate and learn in this field. And also, very simple, block some time to learn. If you don't do that in a 24/7-hour job, you will never find time to get inspiration and to drive your own team and yourself forward and future-proof your communication department. Interestingly, some people also told us, yeah, it's there, but we have no solution. We simply have to accept these tensions. But in the interviews, we also saw that many communication leaders talked not about themselves, but they talked about how others, how their team members should go forward.
So thank you for these insights, but what does this mean for practice now?
So if we want to sum up and put all this together, and obviously you're invited to download and read the full report, so you will find more explanations, more examples here. We believe that because learning innovation is so important, it's time to take the current learning practices of the leaders to another level. First of all, communication leaders must take responsibility, take time to innovate themselves and their profession. So we need more established and shared frameworks in the field, which really helps us all together as a profession to grow. Secondly, until today, managerial learning in the field is often limited to business and leadership knowledge because there are executive programs and offers for leaders. The problem is other executives in other fields shine as well, the HR, the marketing colleagues. So if you want to be a good communication leader, it's important to also develop future-oriented competencies in your own field to manage and execute corporate communications. It's important to focus on that. Third and fourth, quality. So at the moment, as I mentioned, experimentation, peer exchange is the top priority in practice, but this means you only copy what others already do, which makes sense. Innovation and growth obviously takes time, and it's step by step. But really, to leverage the full potential, it's necessary to have a discourse that is no longer driven by self-adulation, like looking at best practice campaigns, and by agency studies. It really needs some initiatives of those who really drive the profession. And last but not least, one option would be to work closer together between academia and practice, because if it's about a neutral, if it's about also long-term perspective, it simply needs time and needs expertise and some approaches which simply need more time and more insights to develop ideas for the future. So building managerial learning on probably a bit more reliable sources also seems to be important in this field. And if you look at other debates, like in strategic management, this has been done since many years. So it's time for this profession to close the gap and also to drive the debate further.
Well, thank you, Ansgar, for sharing these first insights on the managerial learning topic. So now we eagerly want to know, where can we find out more?
As mentioned before, there is a full report. It's a 44-page report. You will find a lot of quotes, a lot of insights, also some literature if you want to dive deeper. So please feel free to download the full report at the website mentioned here, www.communicationmonitor.eu. And you also have access to some additional overview videos. And obviously, there are lots of communication monitor reports from the last years covering different topics. And many of them are still quite interesting and relevant today. Thanks
Perfect.
for your interest.
Thank you for sharing your insights.
Yeah, thanks, Carol.